So me and my wife decided to buy a van because we want to get in shape and go on adventures, and we also have a goal of going to all the national parks. So even though the van isn't ready yet, and we haven't fully done the inside, probably not ready to give a tour of that yet, we decided to hit the road and go to a couple of the national parks near us. So we started with West Virginia and New River Gorge National Park, and then later in our trip we'll go to Shenandoah National Park. New River Gorge just recently became a national park this past year, and it was a very interesting visit. There was a lot of places that in the park we had to go down some old country roads in order to get to. And I wasn't sure if we should have taken the van at first on some of these roads, but everything turned out fine. Camping in the New River Gorge National Park is first come, first serve. We were lucky enough to get a spot in the park, but if you're planning a trip ahead of time and are going on a busy weekend, you might want to get a spot at the local state parks instead of the national park, since there are a few spots in the park, but the few spots that there are quite nice. A lot of the main attraction of this park seems to be centered around the river and river sports. There's lots of rafting, kayaking, and fishing in the area. For this trip, however, we were mostly looking for some hiking and getting lost in the woods. So most of the attractions we were looking at were ones that we could get to on foot, drive to, and then explore. The 4 big attractions that we stopped off at in the day and a half we were in the park was the Grandview Overlook, Sandstone Falls, an abandoned coal town that I believe was called Nuttleburg, and of course the famous New River Gorge Bridge. Grandview Overlook supplied some wonderful and spectacular views, as well as some great hiking trails. It was a great way to see an overlook of how the river twists and turns throughout the mountains, and how the river was able to, over time, carve through the gorge. Interestingly enough, despite its name, the New River Gorge River is actually one of the oldest rivers in the world. It is also one of the longest and deepest river gorges that in the Appalachian Mountains. Grandview was a great pick for the first place that we stopped in the park because it gave us a great overview of the park, but then there were also quite a few trails right there that we were able to jump out and walk after spending such a long time in the car. What's in there? Something lives in there. Come out. Who lives in there? Later that day, we walked next to the river and gathered some driftwood, which we used for a fire that night. The next day, we drove to Sandstone Falls, which we ended up taking kind of a back way to get there, which took us down some country roads. Turns out there was a much easier way to take than this and maybe we shouldn't have taken the van on this. But unfortunately, Sandstone Visitor Center, which was nearby our campground, was closed, so I didn't really have the ability to consult a ranger or anybody on whether or not we should take this road. Though I'm glad we did, because it was quite an adventure. At Sandstone Falls, there is a great boardwalk that takes you out to kind of an island where the river parts and goes on either side of it. And there's also a great hiking trail around the island. And the boardwalk provides a great view of the falls. We were able to use the boardwalk to get up and nice and close to the water and experience the falls up close. Even though they aren't the tallest falls in a national park, they were spectacular in the way that they span the entire length of this large river. On our way out of where the falls were, we took the normal road back, which was much easier to drive, but we ended up finding ourselves on another old country road on our way to the abandoned coal town that we wanted to see. Once again, I'm not sure if I should have taken the van down this road. But once we got to the end of the road and to the abandoned coal town, it was very much worth it. A lot of the mining equipment and the conveyor belt that brought the coal down from the top of the mountain were still there, as well as some of the furnaces and ovens they used. The town's name was Nuttleburg and was founded in 1870. The ovens seen here were known as coke ovens and were used to help make the coal into a more efficient burning product. Due to the proximity of the town to the river, there isn't a lot left of anything that wasn't made out of stone or metal, as things decayed over time and fell apart. As the industry moved out and there was no longer coal to be found in the mine, the town dried up and was left abandoned. But there are lots of signs of the town's inhabitants, like pots and pans and things that were left behind. Still to this day, this area of West Virginia suffers from economic changes, mining and other industries leaving the area. This was one of the reasons why there was such a push to name the new River Gorge a national park, because of what the name national park will do for the area and hopefully the tourism it will provide. It'll be interesting to see over the years how this park will change with its new national park status and what it will become.